Hello there, welcome to CNR Extra, coming to you live from our studios at number 5, Ola Hansen Lane, Tesano, Accra. My name is Philip Nilate. Coming up, government faces criticism over $2 million payment to Mauritius firm.
Promised the last time, which is today, we will resume the picketing. We will resume the picketing with our dependent.
Botiano Traditional Council demands independent probe into police shooting incident. And later on CNR Extra, critical road condition in Wa East District impede healthcare services, with residents calling for urgent government intervention.
We have a road linking from Kaline to Logo, which is not constructed. It's only the bridges that are constructed, but they are not filled. We have a road linking from Logo to Bintingen. That one too is not constructed. It's just the bridge that.
Once again, you're welcome to CNR Extra, which is live on CCTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comment via WhatsApp line 0204447033. We're also streaming live on YouTube. You can join us there on CityTube. Hansen Ajimani, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. Good Tuesday. The week is progressing steadily.
Let's bring you the very first story. And government is facing criticisms from the minority over $2 million payment to Mauritius firm for Accra SkyTrain project.
The minority caucus in Parliament has strongly criticized the government for paying $2 million to a firm in Mauritius, Africa Investor Holdings Limited, for the Accra SkyTrain project without parliamentary and the requisite public procurement approvals. Now speaking to journalists in Parliament, the minority chief with Governor Abuja took a swipe at the government for what he described as reckless public expenditure and demanded an investigation into such losses. City News' Ni Ayikwen reports.
The proposed SkyTrain initiative in Accra provides for the development of 5 routes, 4 of which are comprised of radial routes that originate at the proposed SkyTrain terminal at the heart of Accra at a newly developed Kwame Nkrumah Circle, and 1 route that provides an intra-city commuter loop distribution service also emanating from Circle. The project envisages a total track length across all routes of 194 kilometers. Speaking to journalists on Monday, the minority chief whip Governor Abuja took a swipe at the government for investing over $2 million into the project without the necessary parliamentary and public procurement approvals.
What was the reason for government to act in a way to give out $2 million? Who actually took the decision to pay this entity in Mauritius? Was Dr. Baumia, the chairman of the economic management team, they call him the strategist now, aware that without any recourse to Public Financial Management Act and Public Procurement Act, it was wrong for any government entity to pay that kind of amount? So who authorized the payment of the $2 million in terms of the so-called feasibility? And which normal decision maker pays out $2 million for a feasibility study before, as they put it, the project will determine whether the project is bankable? These things only happen when it's an organized crime, when people are careless, clueless, and reckless about public expenditure because they don't care. It only happens when there's organized crime. So I think the minimum the Editor General should be asking for is a refund of the $2 million.
Governor Abuja also expressed concern about the investment of over $20 million into the Accra City Pullman Hotel, which has not seen any work yet on site.
The government insisted and doled out a huge tax waiver to Pullman hotels at the airport. We are now told on their website that government has also invested another over $20 million in terms of equity into that project. You go to the site today, There's nothing happening on the site for close to 2 years. And the question is, which individuals make the decision to invest in these kinds of things when we don't have money?
He also called for transparency and investigations into the government's policy of distributing laptops to students of senior high schools and TVETs.
Why is government shrouding every procurement process in such a level of secrecy? How much does one of the tablets cost? Who is the supplier? What are the credentials of this supplier who is supposed to supply over 1.2 billion cedis worth of tablets to schools? In which country in the world does textbooks exist only on tablets? When we encourage young people to learn how to read books, carry books and read as well, who is going to own these tablets? Are the tablets, when given to the student, going to remain properties of the students? What about communities, including some communities in my constituency, where you cannot get, telephone connectivity? How would they be able to service this? How would they be able to get the latest versions of the books and other things? Once again, government thinking of their own parochial interests, of thinking that they can influence SHS students during voting. So you can ignore basic schools, you can ignore universities, and basically say that we are giving tablets to, a secondary school student because they may be able to vote. And we think that the expenditure of 1.2 billion is a huge amount of money that can do something for this country. Parliament is going to institute the necessary motions to call for a probe into this act of the supply of the tablets, which details are shrouded or known to only the education minister and the government, because this is not the best way to run a transparent government.
He also revealed that government is indebted to the District Assembly's Common Fund to the tune of over 4 billion Ghana cedis, which he urged the government to ensure funds are released as soon as possible.
As we speak, government owes about 4 billion of these monies to the District Assemblies. The question is, are the assemblies asking for government to go and borrow money to do anything? No. You and I have already paid the tax. The law says set aside 5% of what you have already collected from us and pay that to the assemblies so that assemblies can carry out the critical services that are required. We are told the finance minister will be in the house before, on, or by 25th of this month. It will be very helpful if the minister makes some releases to the Common Fund administration for onwards transmission to the various district assemblies before the budget. It will make the presentation much more meaningful.
The Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament, Alhassan Suhini, also addressed the media accusing government of employing the services of a land guard in retrieving and protecting government's lands, contrary to the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act.
It is not only the ministry that contracts the services of this land guard, but also the Ghana Armed Forces and the police depend on the services of this land guard to protect lands that are under their care. And so if the Ghana Armed Forces and the police cannot protect their own lands and have to resort to the use of land guards, what is the faith of the common Ghanaian who wants to acquire land and is faced with the challenge of land guards? And what was again scandalous was the revelation by the chief director that this person that is engaged, actually has a setup that the state cannot compete with. A setup that the state cannot compete with. According to the chief director, he has his own media that ensures that whatever he does, rightly or wrongly, is not exposed for public scrutiny. He has his own members of the judiciary, and so he gets away with whatever law he may have broken in the process of retrieving and protecting land. He has his own security that he deploys on these lands when he retrieves them. And at the end of the day, he comes to sit down with the ministry and he informs the ministry of the cost that he has incurred. And the ministry compensates him by dashing out, some parcels of land from the whole that he has helped to retrieve. We think this is a promotion of lawlessness. We think that we must all be interested in ensuring that our laws are upheld, and we demand a full-scale investigation into this unholy alliance.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Aikwe Okain for City News.
So the minority touched on a number of issues. Key amongst them is the $2 million that was paid to Mauritius firm for the Accra Sky Train project. Let's freshen our minds a little. The Accra Sky project was signed in 2018, and government signed this agreement with a South African group, that is the African Investment SkyTrain Consortium, for the construction of the Accra SkyTrain project. The railway minister then, that is former railway minister Joe Gatti, signed the agreement for Ghana on the sidelines of the African Investment Forum in Johannesburg in South Africa. According to him, the SkyTrain project was to bring a solution to the ever-increasing road traffic congestion in Accra when it is being done, and that is going to end the effect on economic activities, the pollution, the quality of life is going to be made better when we have congestion in the city addressed as a result of the SkyTrain project. Fast forward, the minister who came after Joe Gatti, that is John Peter Mewu, made mention of the fact that we don't have enough funds for the SkyTrain project. And today, here we are, the minorities are asking that why then would there be an amount of $2 million paid to a Mauritius firm for some feasibility studies to be done, where we know that we've not gotten there yet?
Well, these revelations were made by the Auditor General in 2022 in its audit report. And it revealed that the $2 million had been paid in 2019
Yes.
to this company for feasibility studies. And so the report, certainly this report will get to the Public Accounts Committee. And when treating this, I'm sure some of these concerns that have been raised by the minority will be dealt with at that level. But the point again for me comes to how we settle on policies and how we implement policies. Now, I make this because, you see, we are a developing country with pertinent issues and problems. And basic economics will tell you that there are scarce resources. And that's why when you study economics, even at the basic level, there's an issue about opportunity cost and making the right choice. What are we supposed to select vis-a-vis what we want? Of course, the idea of a SkyTrain is fascinating. The idea of a SkyTrain is good for us as a people. But is this something that, if you look at our limited resources and we pump money into it, that would be beneficial to our economy than if we had concentrated perhaps on
Making our current train system, making it better.
Our current rail system better, and even rehabilitating our road and focusing mainly on our road network and our normal rail network. I mean, if you go to the website of the U.S. Department of Commerce, they have provided an overview of our rail sector. Now, this is in accordance with data. And as of 2022, about 940 kilometers of the rail lines that we had in the country were generally out of service. And then in 2017, government made commitment to revamp the rail sector. And in doing so, our target was to cover a total area of 4,000 kilometers. And we are going to do this in 33 years. 4,000 kilometers in 33 years. And we needed $2.15 billion. I mean, $2 million compared to $2.15 billion is nothing in comparison. However, if you look at the fact that the work that we've been doing on some of the rail projects, like the Impakadan Railway Development Project, for instance, and the others that we need to complete, this $2.12 million that we have paid to this company to do feasibility studies when they have not even done these feasibility studies can be used to augment the work that we are doing already. There are a lot of problems that we are facing. Later on the show, we'll talk about how caterers, Food Suppliers Association are complaining about how government is not paying them. How do we push money into some of these things that, upon a careful overlook and a proper policy analysis, we'll know that we may not be able to even achieve?
So yesterday on Eyewitness News, Umaru Sanda spoke to the former Minister for Railway Development, Joe Gate, but he has debunked the claims that the ministry under his watch made a $2 million payment to the company in Mauritius as part of the Accra SkyTrain project. And he insisted that the money was instead paid by the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. And he went on to say that the grievances of the minority should be channeled to the Attorney General.
You see, we usually like to do a blame game, and at the end of the day, somebody would eventually take the fall. But you see, my point is that if you do a proper policy analysis, we wouldn't end up here. And it is my argument that if we had really considered this properly, we wouldn't have even gone for the idea of a SkyTrain. I mean, when it came up, a lot of people were like, we've not even done the basic rail sector that we have. I mean, you cannot even commute, you don't have the rail commuting consistently, even from Tema to Accra every day. And you want to bring a SkyTrain. Well, let's on that third level, I'm saying that even on that third level, the idea would be, let us better what we have now. But even beyond that, I'm saying that a person in government cannot say that somebody just somewhere took that decision. At the end of the day, a minister has oversight responsibility over some of these things. Did it ever come to his attention? Perhaps the payment was made at the time he was not minister. Rightly so. But if it was made at the time he was minister, did he ever realize that payment was made? Did he find that payment right? And if he did not find that payment right, what did he do? It's not just to say that we should apportion blame to somebody. Well,
so the former railway minister, Joe Gate, is telling the minority that if they want anyone to refund the money, they should tell the Auditor General to ask the fund, that is the Ghana Investment Infrastructure, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, to retrieve or to bring back the $2 million that was paid to the Mauritius firm. But away from this story, let's bring you the issue of the National Food Suppliers Association, and they are not relenting at all. They are asking government to pay them their arrears immediately.
The National Food Suppliers Association has given the government up to Thursday, July 20, 2023, to pay arrears owed them. Now, according to the association, government has reneged on its promise to settle the debt on Monday, although the government, through the Agric Ministry, has assured that funds have been released for payment to be made by Wednesday, July 19. The Food Suppliers Association says if by Thursday they do not receive payment, they would resume picketing. There is more in this report by City News' Eno Safo.
There's a clear roadmap. The bigger issue is how do we make their business better? Because the way they kindly do their business, it's not sustainable. If they continue like this problem will continue to persist. Because they should tell you how they do their business. I see. The way that anybody can, present these papers that are supplied food and just on the face of it, compile it and pay. I don't think the government of the Republic of Ghana can behave in that way between itself and its suppliers. Jonathan, and these things will cause delays. But luckily, a lot has been reconciled. Payment has been is being processed for them, and it will be paid them. I think from the 17th, they will begin to receive their money.
That was the Minister for Agriculture, Brian Achampong, assuring members of the National Food Suppliers Association of paying their arrears from Monday, July 17. However, on the expected day for payment, authorities did not fulfill the end of their bargain.
We all summoned our members across all the regions for them to come for their checks today, only to be told by the buffer stock CEO that he has not received any money to that effect, and he's still expecting the money. And he went further to say that he does not, and he will not deal with an he wants to deal with individually are the same people put together called an association. So whether he deals with us as an association or deals with us as an individual, it's the same thing we are asking him to do. This is a group of the same people he wants to deal with individually who have come together to form a formidable force to demand for their money. We don't require validation or acceptance from anybody from any quarters before we can project and protect our interest. All we are asking them to do is to pay the individual suppliers who have supplied foodstuff to buffer stock over 2 years, whose interests have accumulated, whose creditors are chasing them left, right, center to have their monies paid. That is what we are asking them.
Unhappy about the situation, the food suppliers at a press conference gave the government until Thursday, July 20, to pay their arrears or they will resume picketing.
The interest on those monies is accumulating, and creditors are on our necks. Now, the media, everybody is on us, and everybody who matter in this credit, in this our business, they are listening to us and knowing that we are collecting money. So if a portion of that money is given to us, how are we going to disburse those money? How much are we going to give to who? And how are we going to take care of other commitments we have? It's not as if they are going to give the money with interest. And it is not as if we are still in the business. We've been stripped of the business. And so courtesy demands that we be given our full payment. And so, as we said, we are not accepting half payment or any percentage short of the full payment. Failure to give us the money as promised the last time, which is today, we will resume the picketing. We will resume the picketing with our dependents, meaning our children, our wives and husbands, our creditors, and we will relocate our homes into buffer stock to drive home our demand for full settlement of our money.
The National Food Suppliers Association have given government a Thursday, 20th July ultimatum to pay their arrears owed them. Otherwise, they will resume picketing with their dependents. For City News, my name is Inu Safo.
So the Food Suppliers Association, they have indicated that if government doesn't pay them by June 20, they will definitely go back to the premises of the buffer stock company to picket. But some good news coming in. The City News sources has revealed that the money released for the payment of food suppliers who hit the account of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, that is today, for onward disbursement. City News understands that the government Food Suppliers Association, the suppliers have been asking that, and we know that they are owed some 278 million Ghana cedis. But today as well, we know that the Agric, the Finance and the Education Ministry will be in Parliament to answer questions as to what is really happening at the National Food Buffer Stock Company and why some funds are not being able to be given to these food suppliers.
We run a governance system that simply does not care and value the Ghanaian, who, according to our constitution, are actually even the people have the power and they vest the power in the hands of those who rule. I mean, why do I say this? The issue of these food suppliers not receiving their monies have been ongoing for at least 6 months. And within that 6 months, what have we seen? We've seen little action from government, to the extent that these persons have had to move from their homes, come to sleep at the
premises of
the
the
buffer stock company for a minimum of 3 days, day and night.
Asking for the arrears.
Asking for what is due them. See, they're not asking for handouts, so, Philip. Sectors operate. They operate on a credit base. And so usually they'll take the goods from their suppliers.
Yeah.
They would then supply and then get their money and pay their creditors. And so when there's a delay, there's a